Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we're going to be discussing our 2019 quarterback free agency losers. This is going to be a sequel to my previous winners video, which I will leave a link to, as well as my NFL preseason playlist after the end of this video. And we're going to be talking about 5 quarterbacks whose value I believe took a hit in this monumentally active free agency period. There's various reasons why this occurred. Traded away talent, possibly. Lost some people to free agency. Suspensions. Various things to consider here. And that's what we're going to talk about. Starting from the 5th person and ending with number 1 being the biggest loser, or the person who I believe value took the most hit. So we're going to start with our number 5 quarterback, who I believe value took the least hit out of the names here, but still obviously won't be performing as well as last year, is Josh Rosen. Now, obviously a lot of this depends on what Arizona does with the number 1 pick in the draft. And I obviously think that they're going to pick Kyler Murray and thus lead to them trading Josh Rosen. Cliff Kingsbury, when he was a collegiate coach before he took the job at Arizona this season, recruited Kyler Murray. He has said that he loves him and wants to pick him. Whether that's a smokescreen or not, you want to believe that. I don't think so. I believe they will take their franchise quarterback for this coaching regime, and that will be moving on from Rosen. So if they do, I believe that would ruin any 2 QB league hopes he had this year. I don't think anybody was picking him in season long and expecting him to start, so I don't think he's going to be a QB2 either, obviously. And I don't see a destination in the NFL where he could go besides staying in Arizona, where he's going to be the immediate starter. I think his best bets are probably Miami, the Redskins, the Giants, the Bengals, the Broncos, but that would still be a long way for him to toe for him to get to that starting job. He would have to first get traded there and not the Patriots or somewhere where we know somebody's going to start ahead of him. He'll have to learn the playbook. He'll have to beat out somebody who the team bought into in the offseason, or the incumbent in Dalton, and I'm just not sure that'll even happen. So likely wherever he gets traded to, the team is probably buying into him next year, or at the very earliest, probably the halfway point in this season if things went badly, and that's even a maybe. So we'll see, but Josh Rosen obviously would probably become a backup if he gets traded, at least for the beginning of the season. Moving on to the 4th starter who took a big hit in the offseason. It pains me to say, but it is Tom Brady. Gronkowski retiring, I think, is going to be big. He obviously had a down year last year, but he's a big blocker for Brady, providing him time in the pocket. The camaraderie of him being there and the locker room presence, a veteran teammate, is going to be gone, and it just means a hole is going to be filled. There was a chance Gronk could bounce back and have a great season, but now we're going to have to pick a tight end in the draft. Jared Cook is gone in free agency, so maybe you could have let us know earlier, Gronk, but now it's just a hole that needs to be filled. So that stinks. Also, the Robert Kraft drama just provides some unnecessary distraction for the team and a talking point. Everybody likes to be the trendy, this is going to be the down year for the Patriots, and this is just fuel for the fire. The owner taking unnecessary drama for a prostitution sting is never a very good thing. He's obviously entering his age 42 season. I'm never going to bet against Tom Brady in the physical realm, but he is more of an injury risk the older he gets, especially in a violent game such like the NFL. And he wasn't even a top quarterback last year in all of the performance aspect. Then you add in he had the most interceptions since 2013. with the age and maybe he's losing a touch with the interceptions, you just need him to be trending up, and he's just trending down in this offseason. So, also, his number one wide receiver is 5'10" and 32 years old, and I definitely expect a bigger role in the run game via Sony Michel's second year in the league. And with the 13-3 Super Bowl victory, is it a predictor of this year to come? Are they going to be more of a defensive and running game team? Tom Brady not putting up video game numbers anymore? We'll see. So, Tom Brady having a little bit of a rough offseason. The next name we're going to look into, the third quarterback, is Lamar Jackson. So they signed Mark Ingram, which I really liked. He gets a starting role for a team. His legs are sort of fresh given how old he is. And then with Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson, with Kenneth Dixon, their receiving running back, I really like what happened out of the backfield. But then it's pretty much awful from the offseason standpoint. They lost pretty much every single receiver. Michael Crabtree's gone. John Brown's gone. Even Brashad Perriman had a good second half of 2018 with the Browns and moved on with Tampa Bay. Their number one receiver right now is Willie Snead, and that is definitely not a good thing. Once again, as we just previously mentioned, yes, they'll probably address the need multiple times in the draft, but with that being said, that just leaves them with other holes that should need to be filled, especially on defense. They did replace Eric Weddle with Cam Chancellor, but they lost 3 additional defensive starters, which is huge if you're planning to be a defensive team that runs the ball. A running quarterback is really nice, and to try to be that counterculture and defense team is really nice, but when you lose a bunch of defenders in free agency and you don't even have any sort of threat out of a wide receiver, it's pretty difficult to spread the field and not have them stack the box. So I'm just not very sure about Lamar Jackson. I really want to buy into him and that running quarterback, but it's going to be really hard without any receiving threats to throw to. Yes, they have a few decent tight ends, but that's going to be, and a check down to Kenneth Dixon, those are just short passes. So he's going to be capped on big plays, and yeah, just a rough off season for Lamar Jackson. Finally, number 2. So this quarterback was definitely hurt a bunch in the offseason, and it pains me to say this name as well, but Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, it was a pleasure to watch him last year, but obviously Kareem Hunt is officially gone. At the start of this year, he's not going to be there, so they're going to be depending on Damian Williams to be their feature back and stay healthy with Carlos Hyde, a journeyman. So obviously that's a little bit sketchy, not having your franchise running back that you had at the start of last year. Once again, with the Ravens, their defense took a hit. They did replace Eric Berry with the Honey Badger, but that being said, Berry was apparently the heart and soul of the defense. And with Dee Ford and Justin Houston, they lost 2 more starters. And a lot of times, especially in fantasy football offense, when your defense loses its efficiency, that's usually a good thing for the offense because they're going to be on the field more. But when it's that negative and you're losing that much talent and replacing a bunch of your starters with journeymen, it's a little bit scary, especially if the team starts to lose a little bit early on. Then you might not have your player beasting at the end of the year. Also, obvious to mention, the Tyreek Hill assault decision. That's the game breaker with Patrick Mahomes. I would say a 6 to 8 week suspension is really likely. If nothing is wrong and found with him, I still think it's going to be a 6-game personal conduct suspension, a la Ezekiel Elliott, because he has had previous issues. If there is some evidence that comes out, we could be looking at an 8-game suspension to as bad as a Ray Rice year-long suspension. And if that happens, who knows what the Chiefs will do? They have released Kareem Hunt, and we have a precedent there. And if Patrick Mahomes loses Tyreek Hill, he's going to be depending on Sammy Watkins as a number 1 receiver to stay healthy. and Travis Kelce being double teamed every single play, yikes. He would definitely go from number two to number one if that were to happen. Half a year is already a hard pill to swallow with Tyreek, so it's just rough to see what's happening with Mahomes and the Chiefs in general. I think they might take a step back this year. And finally, we have the number one quarterback who has already lost the most this offseason. Just like yesterday, I think this one's pretty obvious and we all saw it coming. But this is Big Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously, Le'Veon is not coming back. For sure thing, he's in New York for nothing. And Antonio Brown is gone for a third and a fifth round pick. So, 4 40-yard touchdown passes to Antonio Brown. That was tied for the league lead. Obviously, he looked for Antonio Brown when plays broke down and he made things happen. He's not going to have that anymore. I love Juju, but that obviously hurt Big Ben's big playability. They dropped 4 games and out of the playoffs from 2017 without having Le'Veon Bell. So then you add into the mix that they lose Antonio Brown. I'm just not sure that this record gets any better. Big Ben is another year older, a couple years after discussing possible retirement, losing 2 generational talents from his offense. Granted, you could say that Bell left last year, but it's officially the year where he left, and I can't ever remember in the history of the NFL where a generational running back and a generational wide receiver has left an offense in the same offseason. We're talking 100 plus targets from Antonio Brown, maybe 100 targets from Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield, a runner who takes pressure off of you. It's just so gigantic, it's hard to even quantify. Then the Browns got even better. It's going to be an interesting year for the Steelers. I could definitely see them taking a huge step back, possibly finishing third to, if things got really bad, possibly last in that division. But it was just a huge offseason loss for Big Ben. And we're going to see how he deals with it next year. But thanks everybody for listening to my video as always. It's a pleasure talking to you. I'll be back tomorrow with some more winners and we'll be looking at some running backs. So hopefully you tune in then and have a great day and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.